And David is very visible. So,
Recording in
Definitely
progress.
have a quorum.
okay, we have a quorum. I want to welcome everybody to the November 25th, 2025 Select Board meeting. This is a total Zoom meeting. In attendance for the Select Board right now is David Phil, Jane Nevin-Smith, Molly Keegan, myself, Randy Iser. We are anticipating Amy Parsons coming, but she's not here as of yet. There's nobody out in the audience, but I'm going to read this foolish thing anyhow. Pursuant to Chapter 22 of the Acts of 2022, as amended, this meeting is being conducted in a remote format. The public has been provided with adequate alternative means of access via Zoom, as noted in the posted meeting notice, along with access and participation instructions. As chair, I hereby notify all participants that this meeting is also being recorded by the town through Hadley Media and will be made accessible to the public. In accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20F, any person who intends to record or transmit this meeting must inform the chair at this time. Okay, Amy just texted saying it's taken forever for her to load up, so she's gonna have the same problem I'm having. That being said, that's all I can see on my board doc screen. So Molly, take it away.
Okay, so it looks like we have an 11:30 appointment. There is a change of manager request for Skinny Pancake, which is located up in front of the Hampshire Mall area. They're requesting a change of manager to Natasha Hinkson.
So Natasha's been there all along. I think she's just gotten her title changed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is just your normal manager change. I do not see her here, which is pretty normal for the situation. So you would just need to, it's just part of the protocol to vote it through.
Okay. And
Make motion to approve the change of manager.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. The only thing I just need to do is make sure that there's nobody here in the public who wants to comment on it. I don't see anybody. So, okay, motion made and seconded. All of those in favor, roll call vote, right?
Good catch, Molly. Good catch.
Getting the cobwebs off. Okay, Iser?
Yes.
Keegan, yes. Nevin-Smith?
Yes.
Phil?
Yes.
And I see Amy Parsons has joined us.
What am I voting yes on?
Best not vote
Change
since
of
you weren't
manager.
here.
Change of manager for Skinny Pancake.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right, so the motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda, we have the opportunity for public comment. Just looking at participants, is there anybody here for public comment? Please raise your hand. Okay, I think we're good on that. Next item on the agenda, police chief contract amendment. This is old business item 4.1. Mike, why don't we turn that over to you?
Okay. So for those of you who are able to load it, this is a document that town council just wrote for us. It was brought to my attention that when I was asked to be the interim quite a while ago, I don't know if it was if the kind of the nuts and bolts of it were run through town council. So and I don't think anyone here expected it to be going on as long as it has. So town council reached out and they have adjusted my job description basically and my contract to add the duties of the interim town administrator. It's just the way that they recommend that it should have been done. In the first place, even if it was going to be a very short period of time, there is no change whatsoever to anything about how the job or either job is being done. There's no change in pay or anything like that. Everything remains the same. It is just simply written in a manner that town council recommends. It's just a technical issue.
Motion to approve.
The only thank you, Jane. The only thing that I would like to just bring up that we make a slight alteration to. Linda and I have been talking about kind of the budget process and the capital process and all that. And the only recommendation and adjustment is that because town council pulled language directly from the TA contract, one of the things that it says is in conjunction with the finance director in a couple of different places. I would just make a recommendation to remove those 6 words and just leave it as overseeing the operating. And that would be the only recommended adjustment. And again, Linda and I have discussed that, and we're both in agreement that that's how it works. And, as we move forward and you start the search for a new town administrator, it just makes more sense to have it written the way that it's actually being done. So that's that.
Okay,
Okay.
motion to approve as amended.
Second.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Jane, seconded by David. Roll call vote. Iser?
Yes.
Keegan, yes. Parsons?
Yes.
Phil?
Yes.
Nevin Smith?
Yes.
Okay, so that passes unanimously as well. All right, thank you for working with council on that, Mike.
Yep.
Okay, so the next agenda item, I'm assuming Lauren is going to speak to this. So this is the Insurance Advisory Committee discussion. We understand that this is something that we needed to establish as we continue on our saga of trying to figure out the best path forward for our municipal employees and their health coverage.
Absolutely. So over the past couple weeks, I've reached out to the unions to get their delegates for the Insurance Advisory Committee. And so I am asking that we appoint Raymond Russell for the DPW, for the workers and supervisors, Michael Mazulis for the fire union, Megan Healy for dispatch union, Haley Gaudet for the police union, Kim Piper for the municipal union, Kenneth Richards for the Hadley Education Association for units A and D, and Patricia Hopp for the Hadley Bus Union, as all of those are voting members. And then Joy Brennan would be a secondary for Patricia Hopp if she cannot make it. We are still looking for a retiree. We did ask Joan Zuzgo if she would be interested in joining. Unfortunately, she had to decline just due to time constraints. The retiree person, the select board can come up with people they think are good retirees to put on the Insurance Advisory Committee. So we're still looking for that member. That would be a voting member. And then there would be 3 advisory members, myself, Amy Parsons, and Sue Glowatsky.
Lauren, would not having somebody in the seat of the retiree prevent this committee from even starting to meet?
I think so. I think we need to get someone who has the retiree, who knows the benefits and their side of it. So I'm hoping you guys may have some recommendations for other members that we could ask if they're interested.
How about Dan?
Zagrodnik?
Zadonic.
Zadonic, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be good if you'd be interested. And then, Mike, I don't know if you have anybody. Police dispatch.
No, I can't think of anybody recent. You know, most of our officers are like 12 years old, so nobody's near retirement.
Mhm.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, I mean, Lauren, if you want to, Sue's, stays in pretty constant contact with Dan, so
Okay.
you want to talk to her, maybe go that route, and in the interim, just in case that doesn't work out, we should all be thinking about that.
Yes, yep,
I'm
And I
texting him
assume-
now.
Yeah, I assume this needs to happen pretty quickly, Lauren.
yes.
All right, so we need to come up with some potentials by our next meeting next week, I would say, if not
Mhm.
sooner. I mean, we got to vote on it, right? So
Sue's trying to talk.
okay,
I'm texting Dan now.
you're texting Dan now?
Yeah. So we'll see.
Well, what took you so long?
I'm old. I text with one finger, Randy.
Okay. Can we take a vote now?
Pending assignment of someone to that seat.
Yeah, and question, Lauren, this would not be anybody from the school side, correct? It has to be,
It's a member of your choosing, of the select board's choosing as a retiree. I would suggest, I thought Joan, just because of her experience and benefits, and the fact that she's a retiree, she kind of has both lenses. I thought she would be perfect for it. That being said, she does have a lot going on. But I don't believe it has to be either town. It has to be town.
okay.
So I think you can do either or.
Okay, Sue's got her hand up, so let's see.
He said sure.
Oh,
Perfect.
awesome.
Perfect.
Good job, Sue. Thank
All
you.
right. Do I have a motion to approve the slate with the inclusion of Dan Sadonic?
Motion to
moved.
approve.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Jane, seconded by Amy. Roll call vote. Iser.
Yes.
Keegan, yes. Nevin Smith,
Yes.
Parsons,
Yes.
and Phil.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. All right, thank you, Lauren.
Thank you.
All right, now the fun stuff, new business. Let's start talking some numbers. So Linda, are you up for the first quarter revenue update?
I am, and I'm going to try and share.
Okay,
And
Yes, muffin.
does that work?
yeah, it says you're a co-host, so.
Okay. I think I have to get rid of some windows here. Confusing myself. So I am going to start. Usually we start with general fund, and then I make real quick work of the other the enterprise funds because we're so done by then. But this time I'm going to start with. Okay. With the enterprise funds. Okay, let's see if I can get that share. What have we got?
You got it.
All right, that's not showing. Okay,
Can you make it
And I have
bigger,
to switch
please?
tabs.
Yeah, thank you.
okay.
Well.
Now, can you see all the water then?
Yeah.
Because, all right, awesome. Okay. So, so I'll start with the water revenues, quarter one. So just a reminder of how this is set up. We have the current year is in green and the prior year is in white to the right. And what we're comparing, we're not looking to be a quarter through anything in quarter one, whether it's whatever fund or whether it's expenses or revenues, because it doesn't really work that way with the budget or with revenues. It's very lopsided throughout the year. So what we're always comparing to is the same quarter the year before. So, And then we do a percentage of that year's expectations of their projections. It's not necessarily, it's not a dollar for dollar comparison. It's how far are we through the projections? And so one other good reason to start with the enterprise funds is they're really right in on our projections this year. So for our water, the revenues are about close to 25%, and last year in the first quarter they were just a little over. So they're both about 25% at the first quarter. So that's good. The revenues have not increased yet. The rates are going up for the water bill due on December 1. So we will see those amounts rising in the later quarters. With both water and sewer, we also actually, the budget is lower this year than the last year, because when we did the budgets, we didn't know what was going to happen with water rates. And so we planned a budget within those, and they're very tight budgets. Hopefully we'll be able to ease up on them a little bit when we meet in the spring. But so as far as the projected budgets, look how close they are, 23.84 compared to 23.98. Water is really right at the expectations. So when I pull down,
What's other revenue? What encompasses
they
that?
do let's see, they do other, usually it relates to services like grease trap cleaning, hookups. Susan, you have a longer list than that?
That's fine. That just gives me a general idea. That's okay.
The other things that we do that people have to pay money for, it's not specifically because they will not be affected by the rates. The user fees in the Collins and the sewer is set up the same way, are actually water usage, and the others, the rest is the other revenue. Also includes investment income, honestly. So that's a factor at the end of the year more than it is early. So let's see, I mean, to review down below, the revenues and the expenses are both very close to the prior year. So we're right on target for those. Note our reserves has dropped down, the lowest we've seen in a long time, 316,000. We just spent 400 at town meeting. And hopefully with the new water rates, we will be seeing the reserves rise again, because this is a great source for capital, for grant matches, for other unexpected needs for water, and you'll see the same thing in sewer. That's an analogy on the general fund side, is that's what we use free cash for. This is their free cash. So the next tab I have then is sewer, and similar story here. Look at the revenues, 24.58, 24.36, very much like the same quarter last year. And our expenses are actually very close to 15% in both years. Once again, we lowered the budget, not by much, that's pretty close, $1.3 million for the budget for both years. Sewer is sewer reserves are the one that we almost bottomed out on. We really came very close to having zero. So that will also benefit from the increase in rates starting October, starting due December 1. So is there anything you wanted to add, Susan?
Sure. I just wanted to let you know, we have the commitment amounts for Q2. And for water, the commitment compared to the same time last year for Q2 is up $122,000. And for sewer, it's up $120,000. And we are trending pretty much exactly the same with collections for that. So, I mean, we're right where we wanted to be with these increases. So hopefully this will help out our enterprise funds and we'll see good results.
And Susan, with the collections being pretty constant, that also, sounds like people are going ahead and they're making their payments. So we're not seeing any trend.
Nope. It seems to be going along well. Right. So
well, but that's not to say people aren't complaining heavily. And you know, in part, who could blame them? It's a big increase. But you know, we also remind them that they haven't seen any kind of significant increase in a long period of time. We have done more data logs for this quarter than we ever have in the past, and that's where you can show if there are spikes in usage. So the water department's getting a lot of requests for data logs, but it's, you know, it is the cost of doing business. So
So one of the other things that was was communicated to me that, you know, again, your office is kind of like the teller window at the bank sometimes, right? People go in and they chat. But that you're also hearing some concern being expressed that people know that the override failed, obviously, and that there's been some concern that they're not remembering or realizing that these rates were already put in place and voted prior to that override ask.
and that's
know,
exactly right. It's
Yeah,
right.
and thinking that
Is the way they're getting it back, you know, and which, you know, we remind them that taxation and usage for enterprise funds is two different things. Yeah, there has been a lot of that. I guess in the future, you know, when we do increases, I don't know whether I mean, certainly the hearing was advertised as it should have been. I don't know whether we post it on the website or put it on, you know, Hadley Media. I don't know how we do that, but, you know, there was the feeling of, geez, maybe if I had known, I could have conserved more. Or now, would they do it? Who knows? But I guess the opportunity to make the decision to conserve more, I guess, was at hand too.
Yeah, this should be an agenda item on our next meeting. I want to talk about exactly what you guys are talking about right now, how to get the information out to the public before they get their tax bill.
perfect. Okay, sorry, Linda.
Okay, no, that's fine. I'm gonna get my audio off when I can because I'm the one with saws going in the background. Hopefully you can still hear me well enough. Next is the Hadley Media. All that revenue comes at the end of the year. I just want to make Alex feel we don't forget about him the rest of the time. So there we are. His budget is pretty close, 1 year to the next. And I think they are spending a little bit more. They're a little ahead of the game, but again, this is another whole issue that we still have to deal with. Hadley Media, how to get more money in because the revenue does not cover the expenses. And you can see at the bottom here, $45,000 is what's left in the reserves. Unlike water and sewer, we don't have a way of building up that reserves. That is a reserve that's only going to go down. The fees come completely from we receive it from Charter once a year. And this year we're projecting about $75,000. Then lastly, now we're coming to general funds. So general funds, this is going to, the quarterly one reports are going to lead into the budget discussion of where we are going forward. This again is a reflection of the first quarter last year, the first quarter this year, what our comparisons are. Usually this is something we just sort of, a matter of form, I run through these things and you nod your heads and we're all set, we go forward. Yeah, projections were good. And we're not going to see that this time. We have some glitches both in 26 and in going forward into 27. So the first category, real estate taxes, chugging along at almost the 25% rate. There's no reason for the collections for us to expect anything differently this year. And then I'll do special state aid is a third column, 27% to 25%. That's uneven in how they do it. It doesn't necessarily even relate to the first quarter last year. The state puts out the money when they put it out, and they put out less when they put it. But anyways, state aid is only about 5% of our budget, so it's not going to make a big difference. Our local receipts is the one where we're seeing a dip. We have collected in the first quarter less than 20% of the expectations for the entire year. Last year, that same figure, we were at 22.5%. And of more concern, honestly, if you look at the actual dollars, last year at this time of the first quarter, we collected 960, and this year is just a little over 860. So our dollar amount is actually 100,000 less than it was a year ago. So what we've always said in the past is we look at the quarterly reports to see if we're supposed to, rein things in or we're doing fine. And I'd say this is a time to be looking at that and saying we may need to rein some things in. Our free cash, let me say when I go down to the summary, this will show you the local receipts is behind, the rest are fine. The revenues, expenditures, our total expenditures aren't that far behind, but they are. So the balance, and then we have a certified free cash balance came in at 739,000. We spent some money at town meeting. So we're still over 700, but again, there may be an error in there that Lori still has to work out with DOR, but we would still be over 500,000. It's like maybe about 150,000 less than what we see here, but which is still more than we were anticipating over the summer. So we're still okay in free cash for what we have going forward. So this is an expectation, not only that we might have to do some pulling back in the 26 budget, but that will also impact our projections for 27, which is our next item on the agenda for whenever you're ready to move on to that. If Susan or Mike have anything to add?
No. Okay, I guess the only question I have, Linda, is have we invoiced, like the universities in there, have we invoiced everybody that needs to be invoiced? Is there a sense of what might be, how can I put it?
What might help? We don't have I think the status as far as our payments from the university, we never get them in the first quarter. And we pretty much always get them in the second. The PVPC billings that we do back to 5 colleges, they either come in the second or third quarter, so they don't impact our first quarter of revenues. Most of our larger items, most of our big expenses are the big first quarter, but most of our big revenues come later. No, it's pretty much, now we did write out to each department to find out if in their categories, this was something that they saw as a need to reduce our projections for 26 revenues, or where they thought they would be made up. So in a couple of cases, it's like, we were, like you're saying, we were a little late with the billings, or something's running behind. But I still feel the department still feels they're going to meet the annual expectations. And in a couple of other cases, there was a recognition that no, we've lost some businesses in town that will affect, the various categories. And so we went through and made some reductions in those. So this is where we're landing. Doesn't seem to be a single fluky thing. It does narrow. I think it is worth further looking at it, that the select board probably does want to get, poke in on this a bit more, to see if this is anything that we can impact for the rest of the year, or whether this is just the way it's going to be.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
When does all of this get shared with the finance committee?
Well, it's been on board docs since Friday, and I usually do send a letter out And we can get this out. I can get this out this week. I can get out today. But we have always, I mean, this is a public meeting. We've always had it that it comes to the select board first. And sometimes I'll do a letter on the same day as the meeting, which I was planning to do this afternoon, just get this out there and tell them that they should watch this meeting if they want further explanation.
Thank you, because I
So-
think they keep saying we don't know, we never hear, and I just want to make sure that they have
Oh.
seen this and understand it.
Now you are going to be having monthly buy board meetings. I mean, this is the type of thing, it would be nice to be presenting on a buy board, and so they are getting it at the same time, if that's what select board wants to do. I don't know if you have one planned right now, and I think because we had the meeting thrown off last week that we all just kind of we pulled this together because we couldn't wait longer. We had to get this dealt with.
I think we
But-
talked about the first meeting of every month would be a buy board. I mean, that was my recollection, but
Yeah, I don't recall what we said, but I'm sure it's not set up for next week. I mean,
okay.
we could if we, I don't know what else we have on the agenda though, so.
Why don't we just push it to the 15th so they have time and they don't think it was sprung on them too quickly?
Mhm.
Okay, so that's the 17th, is it not?
I think it's the 15th. Wait a minute.
17th.
The 3rd, the 17th. Yeah,
Yeah.
speaking for myself, I would really appreciate having these things come at buy board meetings as opposed to having a full discussion with select board and then having it again with finance committee, because you all ask different questions and different information might come out in the different meetings. And if we're all meeting together, you're all getting the same information and the same questions and answers. And I think that would be a very healthy way to proceed, especially when we have a precarious situation as we seem to this year.
That sounds reasonable, Linda.
Okay, it's a plan.
So
Okay.
you actually have the budget part as the next item.
You want
Are
to
we
just
ready?
roll right
You want-
into that?
All righty. Revenue summary. Does that need to be larger? Is
It's-
that,
That's
Much
good.
better. Thank you.
okay. Okay, so we did this. So first 3 columns, and I think it's helpful when we're doing our projections with revenues to be looking back in the last few years and see how the change in trend. These are actual collections then in all categories for 23, 24, and 25. The green column is again in 26 where we are, what our projections are for the entire year, and then how we then moving on into 27. So we start with the bottom line, and then the last column compares 26 to 27. And let's start at the bottom, the summary column. Projected for this year was almost 22.8 million for our budget. We're projecting 22.2 million, which is almost $600,000 less that we have available. And there are some very specific reasons. The largest reason is that we are not intending to continue to use free cash. So year one, when you do that, if we're using free cash for our budget and then we don't, we have to deduct that from our budget going forward if we're comparing the two. So we do not have the 846,000. So if we're going to compare the 2 years, then that means that's actually an $846,000 loss in available funds for the budget. So we have to, now that next year, we won't have that, because if we're comparing 28 to 27, if we're still not using free cash, there won't be any drop. So this is a one-time situation if we're going to do it all at once. But for now, because this is the way we have been planning to do it, this is how we're starting out. We will be continuing the special revenue from ambulance and for opioid funds. And so those will still be added into the budget and available. starting at the top. Now, this is interesting in property tax. If you go back to 23 to 24 and look at each of these years, we increase what's available for us to use in real estate taxes by usually at least $500,000. That was quite a jump from 24 to 25. I think 25 to 26, about $500,000 increase that we're projecting. This year, it will only be 382,000. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is that the new growth is lower than it was last year. I think I don't have, I think we used for projections for new growth this year was 140 or 150,000. I don't have everything with me about it, but then it came in, I think it was 140,000. And then what came in, or what the changes to those, the new growth expectations for 26 DOR, we were given 200,000. And that might not be in here, but we need it, so that's a good thing. But for going forward, that amount has been reduced by 100,000. So we are not expecting the new growth available for 27 that we have for 26. And this goes back to, this information is garnered from permits and projects in the pipeline that are happening in town, and they're just not expecting the same kind of boom year that we had. The other rejection in our usual projections from property taxes are that the assessors have requested a serious increase in overlay. Instead of asking that we hold aside 50 or 60,000, which is usual, they've asked for 200. They actually asked for more than that, but we've compromised at about a $200,000 overlay. We've had some a little bit of back and forth on that. We expect to have more back and forth and see what we usually are able to hold 60,000 aside. Now, the overlay for those, the overlay is for rebates, refunds that are given on taxes each year. It's inevitable. It always happens. We set aside $60,000 each year, and it goes to a single pot. It's not 60,000 for each year as it used to be, but we put the money in there, 60,000. So let's say you didn't have any after 3 years, you'd have 180,000 if you didn't have any rebates. So the money piles up, and we started 26 with about 220,000 in it, and I guess in 26 most of this we got down to 20,000. So about 200,000 has gone out in the year 26 in rebates, and they're expecting a similar amount for 27. So this is extremely sobering, because if we're counting on getting over $500,000 from people's real estate increases, and we have that much going out in rebates, it's tough. So we need to get a better handle on that. And then local receipts is the other area. We usually expect an increase, and we're actually going to be looking at a $200,000 decrease, which brings us down to 27 being more like what we saw in 23 and 24, what was collected. We were looking at an increase last year, but that increase has been wiped out. So we've had pretty steady income for 4 years in the local receipts area. So
Now, why is that projected down?
Local receipts?
Yeah.
Okay, going back to we already saw $100,000 less from our projections for 26. So rather than multiplying that by 4 and saying we're gonna come in 400,000 less, we think we're gonna project that it is gonna come in probably 200,000 less. So Jane, it's based on what we're seeing, what we have received in 26, and what department heads are now amending from their projections as to what they think we really are going to receive in 26.
Thank you.
I haven't recalculated the enterprise. Those are chargebacks based on the budgets, but I don't, I'll probably do those in January. I don't expect to see an increase because we're not increasing our budget. We're not going to increase their share of the budget either, so it's probably going to be about the same. So there we are. We have less to work with for 24. So rather than, we just can't start. The outcome of this section of the agenda is we're looking for guidance from the select board. We're starting it out to give you suggestions from us, telling you what we think the situation is, and then see if we can agree about how we're going to project it. So in order to see what this impact is going to be on our budget, I went ahead and prepared a 27 budget. Just me, not talking to anybody else. And for that reason, we can't say up here what it is. This is just Linda's first stab at the budget. I went through each department and all. So then I got it down into summary format because that's the only fair way to do it. But we had to see what is the impact on our budget and what does that mean in terms of reduction. So what I did was I combined all of our operational budgets. That means anywhere that we've got employees, everything except debt and benefits. So using those revenues and what our budgets are, what we had to do is we had to increase anyone that is employed and continuing with the town, they get their raises. So that my point one down here is that the budget comparing to 26, first thing we had to do is increase that budget by 200,000 to allow for salary increases. Second thing, we know that health insurance is going to be probably about 15%, maybe more, maybe less. If it's more, I'm hoping that it will be offset by people leaving. And I don't mean the people that positions are eliminated, although that's a factor. But there's probably going to be more departures from our insurance coverage than new people coming in this year. So hopefully that will be a bit of an offset. Given all of that, we then back into what we have available for everything else, what we have to decrease the budget to allow for the insurance and the salary increases means we have to, in our operational budgets, decrease the budget by 800,000, which is probably 8 to 11 positions, the way I was able to work that through. So one thing I want to point out here is let's go back to 25. We had a budget of a little bit over $21.2 million. And then you go to the bottom line of the 27, and it's like $22.2 million. You go $1 million over 2 years. What's our problem? That sounds like a big increase in 2 years, and we should be in great shape. Now, look at what we spent on benefits and health insurance and other benefits in 25, $4.1 million. Look at 27, 5.2. So while our total budget increases by $1 million, we have benefits increasing over that same period by over $1 million. What does that leave for anybody else? That's the situation that we are in right now, that as hard as we're working to, get increases to the budget, have available for the budget, it's going over in this one direction. So this is the category where $300,000 increase, even with some conservative estimates in there. And we know that we're going to have to reduce positions in order to accommodate that.
Is that in addition to the positions that have already been reduced?
Correct, it is.
Yes.
And Linda, can I just? Oh,
Yeah,
sorry,
go
go ahead, David.
What was that, Mike?
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
Mike?
I was just gonna, sorry. Thanks, Molly. I was just gonna add a little bit of context to it, but it was basically what Jane had just asked. Just contextually, we have already lost slightly, I think almost the same amount of positions, 10 or 11 positions were either vacant or the fire department positions. And so this is in addition to, so you're talking a total of over 20 over the course of 2 years. And I know Linda is going to get to number 7 in a moment, which affects things as far as budgets and operations go outside of eliminated positions, because when we're talking about level funding, now we're talking about how are we going to handle our expense side of things. So I should get to that in a minute, but I just wanted to add some context, and thank you, Jane, for bringing that.
And so I just want to understand, so the bullet point number 3, where we're coming up with the full and part-time positions, it says not counting school. So
All we can do on the school side is give them a dollar amount to cut their budget, and how they implement those cuts is something that we're not necessarily, we're not in on. So this is
Sure.
just the town side.
So that would the schools be included in that operational department? So they're $8 million.
Yes, they are.
15. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, they are.
So that, and I see Annie and Chris around here.
They are sharing. They are sharing in the cuts.
Yep.
Substantially. Well, we're all substantially.
Yeah.
It's all substantial at this point. But again, I didn't want to itemize the individual ones, and we haven't spoken with departments. It's not really, it's not fair at this point. What we're trying to get, what always at this time of year, what we're looking for is directions from the select board, but you can't give directions till we tell you these things, and then we see where we go from there. Let's see, let me see if I got through. Okay, number 6, this is one thing that Mike and I have talked about a lot, is this looking for efficiencies in departments, whether there's ways to combine especially every time a position is vacated, not only looking at that single position as to whether it needs to be replaced or not, full-time or part-time, or whether there's a way to combine that position with another department, that there's maybe some shared support services, or whether that's a time where outsourcing makes sense depending on the kind of department it is, so that instead of replacing with another employee, we're doing some outsourcing, which is probably going to also be a large figure, but this does not involve benefits, unemployment if they leave, and a lot of things that we don't have to incur when it's outsourcing. Of course, we don't want to, everything will be done trying to keep the impact on operations as low as possible. So, I mean, handling that, number 6, on a case-by-case basis is really about the only way we can go, or the best way to go about it. It's not the only way. There's some really bad ways to go about it, but that's the best way to go about it, is have these things as much as we can handle by natural attrition, the better. Whether we're going to find 8 to 11 positions by natural attrition, who knows? We're only we're almost 2 quarters through the year, so we'll see. And so, yeah, Mike mentioned the level funding is the best any department can expect. So usually we send out the budget worksheet has the coming year is blank, or we'll have them do their salaries and add the percentages or whatever. We'll deal with the personnel part of it and leave them to fill in the rest. And basically, what do you need? Not that they get everything that we need, but it's sort of been our policy in the past that whether you can get it or not, it's only fair that we tell the town or the select board, finance committee, what it is your department needs. I think we have to rein in, I think that you want to consider reining in expectations. I don't know whether you still want to know what it is that they're looking for and need, or whether we just want to say, here's your level funded budget exclusive of the salaries. Show us how you would allocate these expenses best within your department going forward. So I think, Mike, with that, I think I'm kind of done. You may have some more you want to guidance you want to give them from here, but
No, I think you covered it. The only thing that I would add is just what you were starting to say right there at the end, which is, I think it's only fair that since a lot of these departments are going to be looking at potential layoffs outside of a discussion of another try it and override, that when the select board puts the guardrails for the budget cycle up, that we give them the opportunity to at least try to make the decisions for their budget and where they can make cuts and where they can make adjustments and possibly their own efficiencies and things like that. But at the same time, I do think it's important that the select board and the finance committee hear what the effects of those adjustments are going to be. And obviously the town as well. I mean, we're already seeing and hearing about some of the the cuts that we made for 26, how they're already kind of affecting folks in certain areas. So this is going to be deeper. We're basically doubling the cuts. So, and again, with the level funding of expenses, we talked ad nauseum about how deep the expense side of things that Linda and I cut for this budget cycle, and the concern that some departments have about making it to the end of this cycle in the black. So going further than that for 27, it makes me nervous. And I think at minimum, allowing the department head to have some control over where those adjustments are. I like to use DPW as an example because Scott has a slightly different situation than some of the other departments. So if you look at the fire chief and myself, our expense lines are based upon what certain things cost. Getting fire trucks inspected, paying for our emails and things like that. Whereas a lot of the lines in the DPW budget are tied directly to how much work he can do around town. How many lines he can paint, how many roads he can fix, how many trees he can take down, things like that. So, if we are level funding those lines, we are essentially level funding the work that DPW can do around town. And that's just one example that I like to use just because he's slightly different in that aspect. So again, as you think about the guardrails that you want to put up and the rules that you want to give department heads, those are the kinds of things that I feel like you need to keep in context as we move forward.
So I don't know, maybe I'm thinking, not so much thinking about it differently, but thinking about prioritizing. So, if we look at the $22 million budget that we have to work with, and, just in order of magnitude, we know that of that 15.1 million, roughly 8 million is the school department. And then if we think about the 900 series, which is the 5.2 million employee benefits, again, the school department accounts for, let's call it half, if not more, right? And, I would think, we've always enjoyed a great working relationship with Annie and Chris on this stuff. And it seems to me like we need to be having that conversation with the schools sooner rather than later, because if everybody just goes and says, okay, we'll try level services and we'll try to cut where we can. The school department's kind of the elephant in the room, given the percentage of the budget that they account for. And I know in the past, I think we've kind of gone off and just kind of let the chips fall. And I think the school department typically comes back in February or March and says, here's where we're at. And they've been, amazing in terms of controlling the operating percentage increase that they've been asking for. But, this is different. And Annie, I don't know if you want to say anything or not, if you agree or disagree. I mean, I'll just in terms of the timing about conversations with you guys.
Yeah, so certainly any which Mike and Linda are excellent at providing parameters and how the town would like to proceed with ensuring that revenues and expenses, that the budget is balanced. So whatever parameters are given to the school department, what we would then do is say, okay, given those conditions, this is the effect that will have. And certainly communicate that to folks. And yeah, so I had also briefly mentioned to Mike, I won't go into details, there is a little bit of good news in terms of the expenditures for fiscal year 26 in school choice sending and in charter tuitions. I have access to data through our student information management system that Linda would not have access to. Linda and Mike get cherry sheet estimates directly from the governor's office. That's all that they have. They don't get student level data, and they don't get real-time data on who's going to school where. And that does seem to be looking up, but that I can discuss that at a later time. That will help slightly. Certainly won't address every issue that folks that we currently have financially. But whatever information, whatever parameters we're given, we will do what we can within those parameters and communicate the impact of those conditions.
I think that's really important that people understand that the schools are also impacted, and like you say, you will, when you figure it out, we'll start spreading the word of that, because we are ultimately, I think, considering asking for another override. And if the schools have come forth and said, okay, if we don't get the override, this is what it looks like for us, that will bring a much bigger group of people who are affected into the mix of who's going to vote.
Yes, I would, that certainly could be true. And I would also say that what we all, or I'll speak for myself, what I learned, what will be helpful going forward. So when we talked about the override, we talked in terms of essentially $130,000 that may not be available. And what came to fruition was a $200,000 cut. Those are slightly different things. And so to your point, Jane, to the extent that I can be as clear as possible as with what those consequences are, and then the impact that they have on programs, that's great. And we at the school department, of course, I say all the time, we stand ready to help. I appreciate the fact, someone just asked me this on a radio show I was on, is what makes Hadley different? Why isn't Hadley always in the paper, everybody fighting and going after one another? And I know some conversations can be hard and people think differently, but at the end of the day, I would say that in terms of all the town departments, there is absolutely no appetite in trying to pit one department against another. I say all the time in the school department, there is no such thing as a sick town and a healthy department, or a healthy town and a sick department. We're all well, we're all sick. And we work together to make sure that we're as healthy as possible. So I do appreciate how much energy and time Linda and Mike and all of you put into just making sure that it always remains collaborative. We're all focused on the same thing. How do we provide the best possible services to everyone in the community, from cradle to council on aging, in a way that is financially tenable for the folks who live here?
I could make a recommendation that we could have try to have a multi-board meeting instead of calling it a bi-board meeting on the 17th, as Randy and Molly had suggested. We could try to get finance, select board, Annie, from schools and anybody from her committee she'd like to invite, and assessors. Get everybody in the same room, and we'll have more information by then. It's just a recommendation.
Oh, I think it makes sense, Mike. We might as well, as Linda said earlier, the more people that we can get together and get this information out to at one time is going to save a lot of grief and aggravation, and hopefully some miscommunication and misunderstanding.
Mhm.
Good, because I already changed the draft agenda for the 17th. So
Okay, so can I just throw
We'll see
something
y'all
out there,
there.
Mike? I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Mike, can I just throw something out there and then I can go offline with you? Not to be too much of a challenge. I'll probably be in California on the 17th. That doesn't mean that hopefully my schedule that I could be there. I would still post it as a by-board meeting so that you can move forward. If Chris and I are there, Chris and or I are there, that is helpful. That will be helpful enough for you to move the conversation forward. I'd hate for you to post it as a tri-board meeting and not get the quorum that you need from the school committee, where Chris and I can be helpful to you, right? I'm not saying you wouldn't, but I'd say just post it as your regular one, and I don't count toward that quorum, neither does Chris.
Okay.
And
I think we're going to invite the assessors as well, though, Annie. So I think it'll be a tri-board meeting.
oh,
and
I'm
then
sorry.
you'll be
Okay,
the
I
board.
thought, all right, perfect.
So,
My apologies, I misunderstood.
that's fine.
Okay,
Yeah, and if you don't, a certain board doesn't come with a quorum, they don't get to participate. The meeting carries on.
okay, all right, perfect.
Right, but
My
they
misunderstanding.
can ask questions if they're there. They just can't make votes.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, great to know. Thank
So
you.
maybe some of your board of directors also wants to show up at this meeting.
School
And
committee.
that would start at what time usually? I'm just trying to get my
6.
calendar. 6.
Yeah, we actually, Senator Comerford is actually coming that night for an appointment. So my guess is probably be closer to 6:30, but yeah, just for your calendar, Annie. I'll call it a multi-board meeting, and whoever has a quorum can participate. I'll have everybody on there, and if there is no quorum, then it'll still be a multi-board meeting. It'll just be a by-board.
And Mike, do you think there's a chance, could we get that, the employee benefit grouping, could we get that 900 series broken out by source, if you will, by departmental source? So we're not guessing.
Linda, you think we can do that, Linda? Can we break it out like that?
I thought it was like for each category, but you're actually like by department. That would be HR, I think, because
Do you mean
I just have the
department or
bottom line
town?
dollars. I don't have who takes what.
Do you mean department
do you
or by
think that's-
school and town?
Yeah, Molly, do you want it broken by town versus school, or do you want it literally by department?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good starting point. I mean, I think we just need to have a sense of, I mean, where I'm coming from is when you look at the fact that these benefits, and it's not, I mean, obviously the press and the highlights have been on the health insurance, but it's also the retirement line item and other things as well that inure to the individuals, right? So I'm just trying to get a sense of magnitude. It doesn't mean that we're going to then take that exact percentage and say, okay, that's your share of it, you know, but I think it would inform a discussion as we're trying to figure out participation in absorbing the shortfall.
Okay.
So, but as a starting point, sure, you know, school versus all other municipal departments at least gives us some relative sense.
All right, and Lauren is still on the meeting. I don't know if she's busy with something else, but I will talk to her afterwards and we'll see if we can break that out.
I'm here.
Okay, you think you can do that, Lauren?
I'll have to, I'm sure it'll take some doing, but I'm sure there's some way we can put something together.
Annie, is that in the I'm trying to remember the net school spending. Is that something that we've done in the, I don't know, there are a couple of different calculations for the schools where we take the different like allocation of usage. Maybe that's not the right one.
Are you trying to are you asking about is there a method for apportionment of costs for town services to the school department? Is
Yeah,
that
isn't
what you're
there-
getting at?
Yeah,
There is a document that was created when David Nixon was town administrator. That's the last time that that document was
oh, it hasn't been
updated.
updated.
And and also, however, though, Molly, I do believe that, and certainly I can double check this with Chris, that actual NSS or net school spending reflects all expenses. What we put in the end of year report is all expenses, including apportionments from the town.
That's the one. It was the end of year report.
Yes.
I can
So
remember.
in the
what-
end of year report, it has all expenses, not its local contribution plus those additional expenses that include, as you said, apportionments, benefits and other things.
Okay, so if Lauren's not able to do it, maybe we could use that as
Well, and I would say, to the extent that, and I'll do anything to help, I would expect that the school committee would be asking me, if I were on school committee and my boss, I would say, have you reviewed a spreadsheet of every single person who's being charged in the school department a benefit? Like, do you have that list, and have you reviewed it, and have you confirmed that list? So I imagine that the certainly the health insurance, I'm guessing the health insurance company has a list of who takes what. And that's where the end of year report is not going to stipulate. It would probably have a lump sum amount of what the school department was charged for benefits.
Mhm.
And then, but the actual, the supporting documentation is also something that would be important, or I imagine the school committee will ask me if I reviewed it.
Mhm.
They should.
Yep. Okay, thanks, Annie.
All right, Linda, I think, was that it?
It is. I mean, I don't know, maybe we're not going to get to recommendations from the select board at this point. Maybe we're gonna wait till, maybe you want to wait till December 17th. I think we wanted to get going early on the budget so we could get to this point. I don't know that it's important to get the departmental budgets out, done early, because there's not a lot for them to do with it. We might be more prescribing them. So I don't see any harm in waiting on budget worksheets and all that until after our larger meeting. One other thought I had about when we do the budget sheets is that we include FY28. So because there are some things that the departments can put off one year to a next year. And hopefully next year, our increases in revenues we'll be able to plow back into the budget in a better way. So I was thinking maybe doing 27 and 28 would actually feel better than just doing 27, but I'm not sure. But I guess I think maybe I'm leaning towards, I think I'm suggesting that we wait until that meeting.
I agree. I agree. Get everybody at the table and we can go from there.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, between now and then, the areas that we want to do, we want to find out a little bit more what's going on with the overlay, if we can make any shift there, if there's anything we can do with local receipts being better. And you need to think about whether you're going to stick with that policy of no free cash, or you want to step it down over 2 years. These are policy decisions. These are not ours. We started this out with the I don't want to say worst case scenario, but like assuming that things are no free cash and where the increases were going to be. So we're looking forward to this developing then over the next few weeks, and that we can then send out something more useful to department heads than we have right now.
I don't think it's useful to include 28 because 27 is serious enough and we don't know which way we're going to go. And I think it
Okay.
would muddy the waters, if you will. Because then somebody could say, but you said, and maybe we had, but we changed our track. So let's just stay with next year for the moment. Maybe others disagree, but that's my sense of it.
Yeah, I think the financial stuff gets convoluted enough as it is. If we start taking two years out, that's gonna get pretty interesting to talk about it at wherever, town meeting or so I agree with Jane.
Yeah, I think that on the revenue side, it makes sense to do a multi-year. But that's something that can be kind of self-contained, without having each department, because that's where, you get the variability and new growth. Their construction projects coming down rather than have people speculating and saying, oh, well, we're going to be fine in 2028, maybe we're not. So that's what I
Okay.
think the multi-year is most useful.
All right. Well, that's all we had. We do have an executive session planned, so I will just need you all to make your motion, and I'll need the select board, the fire chief, and Lauren to stay on.
All right, I can make the motion if you like.
Great.
So I'm going to make a motion that we enter into executive session per Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to the firefighters union. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares, we will also not be reconvening an open session today.
Second.
Okay. Randy, do you so declare, or am I declaring?
You're declaring. You're it.
All right, as acting chair, I do declare that having this discussion in open session could have a detrimental impact on the bargaining ability of the town of Hadley. So do I have a roll call vote? Iser?
Yes.
Keegan, yes. Nevin Smith?
Yes?
Phil?
Yes.
And Parsons?
Yes.